Turn to page 6. Welcome, angels. Among us, ministering angels, come bring wholeness. Messengers of peace, come and go in peace. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShamayim. Reveal yourself, my friend, and spread over us a shelter of peace. Turn to page 8. He got it, got it, got it.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to take a few minutes for a meditation. So Shabbat is a time when halachically, traditionally, we're not allowed to carry. This is the moment to put down our burdens. So if you're willing and you feel comfortable doing so, close your eyes and imagine your very heaviest burdens that you're carrying. And see if you can take them one by one and just put them to the side. And they shouldn't worry too much because you'll get back to them after Shabbat. Let them just rest for a while as you rest. And think of your other burdens, burdens to family, friends, maybe a friend in need, a friend who is sick, a family member who needs care, a stressful situation at work. And put these burdens aside, whatever they may be for you, one by one, weekday by weekday. And then imagine some lighter burdens, the obligation to shop, to cook, to clean, to prepare your house. Imagine for the moment that you have everything you need and that you are filled with the light of Shabbat. And as you open your eyes again, lighter and light-filled, we are ready to enter Shabbat. A poem from Sharon Dolan.
Bewildered, straying off the path where there is no path, only this howling in the night that means you are lost with all the others inside the unraveling sleeve of wind. In your wilderness, your uncharted land, inhabited by wild deer, a crossing over and into, but the end is unforeseeable. Only this deserted walk with lizards among scrub and manna that tastes like coriander meal, that tastes like resin from the tamarisk tree. You eat, filling up time as berries ripen on a bush. But for what reason? When reason appears cloaked in unruly shouts.
Shiru Ladonai on page 20. Sorry, page 12. page 20.
angels of mercy with loving strength, untie our tangles.
Page 24.
Shabbat. Lo te boshim lo te kani ma tishtochi ma temi ba ach yechazu ani yami ay benimta irtila hey lechadodili yalla 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 Shabbat yalla oy lo lo lechadodili yalla 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 Sayich, Neverachako, Kol Mevalayich, Yasis Alayich, Elohayich, Ki Yimsos Chatana Ikala, Hey Lechatotili, Kakala, Yalla, 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 Shabbat, Megabala, Hey Lechatotili, Kakala, Yalla, 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 Shabbat, Megabala, Yaminu small, Tiye Yifrotzi, Veyet Adonai Taritzi, Al Yadi, Mevet Parti, Venis Mechaven Agilo, Lechadodi Likatala, Yalla, 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 Nishapat, Megabala, Lo, Lechadodi Likatala, Yalla, 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 Nishapat, Megabala.
Please rise.
Loi beshalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzola toch emunei am segula boi kala
We're going into a little meditation.
Page 30.
Can I have a little bit more? Can I have a little bit more on my mic so I can be quiet? Thank you. In my heart there is a sky in the sky there is a cloud in the cloud. There is some rain. Come and clean my heart, my pure, pure heart. In my heart there is a sky. In the sky there is a cloud. In the cloud there is some rain. Let the wind clean up my pure, pure heart. On my path I walk and sing songs of grace, so I can see the sea inside of me. I dive deep and breathe pure infinity. Come and clean my heart, my pure, pure heart. More love, more love, more love, more love. The heavens are calling, the angels are singing. Oh Zion, more love, more love, more love, more love, more love, more love. The heavens are calling, the angels are singing. Oh Zion, more love, more love. One more time. More love, more love, more love, more love. The heavens are calling, the angels are singing. Oh Zion, more love, more love.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. You can sit down for one more minute. Sorry about that. So wonderful to see all this joy in the room. I'm Rabbi Diane Kolaresis, Associate Rabbi at Romemu, and Rabbi David Ingber is on a well-deserved vacation for a month or so. We will see. So I'd love to hear who in the room has never been to Romemu, and if you're on Zoom, please put your name in the chat if this is your first time. And if this is your first time, I'm going to come over to you and we'd love to hear your name and where you're from, if you feel comfortable.
Hi, I'm Hannah,
Navi.
and we're from Strasbourg, France.
France, wow. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Bienvenue.
I think I saw some.
Okay. I'm Stephanie, and I'm from San Francisco.
Welcome, Stephanie from San Francisco. New people, okay. It's a little bit like the Oprah show.
I'm Emily,
I'm Ben.
and we're from Nashville, Tennessee.
Emily and Ben from Asheville. Oh, Nashville, not Asheville. Sorry. Anyone else? Ah.
Hi, I'm Reese. I just moved here from Houston.
Welcome, welcome.
I'm Rachel. I'm from Southern California.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm here with Sarah. We're visiting from a half an hour north in White Plains to see you.
Yay. Welcome to Greg and Sarah from White Plains.
I'm Adam. I'm here from New York City, actually, so not too far.
Welcome to Adam from New York City. Wait, no one's from Brooklyn? Could that be? Oh, okay, we're waiting.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm here from Chicago.
I'm Avi from Dallas.
I'm Natalie from Tucson. I'm Shoshi. I'm in from Brooklyn. I'm Clara from Texas.
Wow, we have really a global kahal, global community tonight. It's amazing. Anybody else? Anyone who's here for the first time in person, like you've come off the screen into three-dimensional reality? No? Okay, welcome to people in Zoom. I don't think I can call on people on the screen, but put your name in the chat. And we are so glad you're here. Okay, I think now we're ready for the call to community. Page 31.
Baruch Adonai ברוכת שכינה אלוהי רוח העולם אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים בחוכמה פותח
Blessed be you,
שערים
weaver of being,
ובתבונה
guide of the universe, who brings the evening,
ומחליפה
who in
את
wisdom opens gates,
הזמנים
and with
מסדר את
discernment
הכוכבים
changes times,
ומשמרותם ברקיע
and turns
כרצונה
the
בו ביום
seasons,
ולילה
and orders the
ולרוב מפני
stars,
חושך
as
וחושך מפני
is the divine
יום
desire,
ומעביר יום ובהביא
cycler of
לילה
day and night,
ומבדילה בין יום
rolling
ובין לילה
light
אדוני
away before
צבאות שמו
darkness, and darkness away before light.
אל חי וקיימת תמיד תמלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוכת שכינה
Shema is on page 38.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה משמעות בשמות למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם.
And do them and not be misdirected by your hearts or by your eyes when you are drawn after them. In this way you will remember and observe my ways and be holy to the breath of life, your God. I am the breath of life, your God, who carried you out of the land of Egypt, that I might be God to you. I am the breath of life, your God, the God of being that manifests to you, the God that is true.
אדוני אלוהיכם
Top of page 46. Page 48 now. Middle of the page, 148.
Michamocha ba'alim Adonai, Michamocha neda b'kodesh, Nora teilot, Ose melech, la 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 la
Ashkivenu on page 49. 49. Please stand as you are able. We're on page 52.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, יאמר דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב וימרו אמן, יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם לעולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה ברכו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. ושבחתה למטה גם איראן בעולמה, and let us say
The silent Amidah can be found on page 56 with alternatives on page 65 and following.
Oh, say shalom. Roma. Oh, say shalom. Roma. Who ya say shalom. Who ya say shalom. Who ya say shalom. Alleluia. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Be Roma. Oh, say
one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace bring peace down, peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Breathe, Roma. Oh, say shalom. Be Roma. Bring peace down. 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 In the summer of 2020, I watched an extraordinary television series called Pose. Anyone here see it? Me. It was about New York City's drag ball culture, a kind of LGBTQ subculture in the African American and Latino communities through the 80s and the 90s. And I watched this with my teenage daughter. One day, there was an episode where this fabulous character named Pray Tell, played by the incomparable Billy Porter. He was suffering from AIDS and he was in the hospital dealing with side effects of AZT and AIDS. And suddenly, to my daughter's horror, I started to cry. And the reason I was crying was twofold. One is I lived in the village in the 80s and 90s, and I saw men in particular all around me wasting away. And I didn't understand then the enormity of the loss and the pain. And watching this, it just, kind of fell on me like a ton of bricks. But I was also crying because we were in the middle of another pandemic. And that I realized that there was no way we could possibly fathom the enormity of the loss. And that in 20 or 30 years from now, we're going to be watching a television series about just this moment. And maybe we'll begin to understand what this moment means. This is a moment full of grief. And unfortunately, the losses keep piling up. There's the climate, there's Roe v. Wade. Last week, many of us were struck dumb by that decision, even though we completely expected it. There's the Supreme Court's ruling on the EPA and the lack of controls on emissions into society. We're facing relentless and senseless gun violence. Children who go to school are gunned down, in all their innocence. People who are shopping, people are going out to dance. There is so much to grieve. How can we? And I'll also ask, should we? Should we grieve? What do we want to grieve for? It's so painful. I want to argue that we should. That there is something about grief that is clarifying, purifying, and even enlightening. In that moment of my tears, I understood, even though I've read a lot of that about the AIDS epidemic, I realized what I saw as a young woman that I didn't get until now. There was something about that grief that brought it home. Now, there's such a temptation to walk through life numb, especially at this moment. Why should we feel? I believe that grief is the preparation every activist needs. It's what we need to resist what is relentlessly coming at us. Now, I don't want to say that we can grieve every day and that we can feel it every day. That's not what's going to happen. But I think that we need to make communal spaces and rituals for our grief. Now, it's interesting. I usually look to the Torah as a model for what I can learn. And in these parshiot, in these portions, and I do and I don't. So these portions, you'll see in a minute, are all about grief. So last week we had Shlach Lecha, right? So the 12 spies, 10 of them are like, they went to scout the land, and 10 of them are like, yeah, it's a land flowing with milk and honey, eretz zavat, chalav, u'dvash. But there are giants there. We're not going up there, right? We can't do it. And in fact, they said, if only you let us die in the wilderness. And they even started to try to form a back to Egypt movement. They said, let us find a leader and let's go back to Egypt. Can you imagine? Back to the site of their original trauma, right? They were so traumatized, they almost couldn't imagine another future. And then there were two, Caleb and Joshua, who said, let's go, we can do it, we can do this. And what's really interesting is God's punishment of all the people who lost faith was exactly what they asked for. They died in the wilderness. They would wander for 40 years and ultimately die in the wilderness. They didn't have the courage to go up. So God said, okay, you're not going to the promised land. And what happened then? They grieved, v'yitablu me'od, me'od. They really deeply grieved. And then we move into this week's Parsha, and what do we find? Some guy named Korach, who is staging a rebellion against Moshe and Aaron. So we go from grief to grievance. We can't tolerate so much grief. It's too painful. We'd prefer to complain. We'd prefer to say to our leaders, you have no right to that power. Now, I'm not saying, and people who know me know well, I'm not saying that there's no place for challenging power, but I think it's really important to distinguish between a complaint and a grievance and a challenge of power that's really for the sake of the whole. Now, if we think about Korach, there's some interesting literary clues that tell us Korach was not interested in the welfare of the whole. Number one, it says, the Parsha starts with, hold on one second, Vayikach Korach, Korach took. But there's no object for the verb. We never know what Korach took. So Korach, I can only imagine, as a close reader of the Torah, and as one person who believes that every single, little, letter and word in the Torah means something, and also the absence of a word also means something, that when it doesn't say what Korach took, I imagine Korach took nothing. Korach grasped. Korach took emptiness, right? His challenge was really not about anything except for not wanting to be in exactly the position he was in and feeling it. He couldn't tolerate what was happening for good reason with the Israelites in the desert at that moment. Moshe would fail to bring them into the promised land because they weren't ready to go into the promised land. So Korach blamed it on Moshe. There's some other literary clues. The very name of Korach refers to Deuteronomy 14:1. Korach, in one sense of this three-letter word, this three-letter name, means bald, and it refers to Deuteronomy where we're told not to tear our hair out in grief. So that's a really interesting connection between who Korach is and grief. And it also says, don't tear your hair out don't cut your skin, don't make gashes in your skin. And finally, go to do. Don't like tear yourself in pieces. And what Korach is doing to Bnei Israel, to the people of Israel, is tearing them in pieces. He's the ultimate in divisiveness. He's hurting the body politic. It's like a self-inflicted wound. The other thing Korach means is kerach, ice. So interesting. Korach is the man of ice, and Moshe is named for what? For having been taken out of the water. So Moshe is the watery, fluid, flexible person who can, who can sort of inhabit any container. And Korach is that stuck, cold block of ice, right? It's like, let's stop the feeling now. That's who Korach is. So there's all these strategies for not wanting to feel grief, right? First, there's the grasping. Then there's the, you have too much power, I want what you have. So failing to really inhabit and feel one's own life and situation. And then there's turning the grief against yourself and your community. And then finally, turning into a block of ice. Now, I know that sometimes with everything happening in the world and everything happening in my life, I turn into a block of ice. Last week, we had this amazing bar mitzvah of a young man named Caleb. It's almost like Caleb stepped right out of the parsha, right? And he was just this talented 13-year-old boy. And it was so moving. And at some point, a friend of his, who's a few years older, I think a close family friend, stood up. And with all his beautiful presence, he sang One Day. You know how that song goes? Can you sing a bar of it? Just one bar. At that moment, for me, the ice melted. You know, the day after Roe v. Wade, and the tears just kind of started to stream. And it wasn't only because of all the sadness in the world, it was seeing these beautiful children come up in the world, like these non-binary, children who represent the full spectrum of gender and humanity and who are challenging all our categories. I was so thrilled. Now, to go back to my teenage daughter for a minute, she's a little too challenging of all my categories, but in that moment, I just was in awe and in grief at the pain of the world and in awe at the beauty of the world. Something really interesting happens in this parsha. Korach and his men are swallowed up by the earth, right? It's almost like they tried to grasp at nothing and nothingness took them. But the next thing you know, Moshe invites all the tribes to plant their staffs, and there's one that buds and blossoms, right? It is almost like Korach unwillingly becomes a seed for life, right? Becomes that growing, blooming, blossoming, right? Just staff. And that staff, of course, was the staff of Aaron. Right, so the challenge to Aaron's authority at the end is completely affirmed in a symbol, not of death, but of fluid, beautiful, moist life. So what I bless for each of us going forward is that we connect to each other and find places where we can feel the fullness of what's gone on, the beauty and the horror, the grief and the loss. It's going to take decades to really understand what we're living through, but right now, instead of going through life, just numbing out, let's be alive. Let's be that staff. Let's bud. Let's bloom. Let's blossom. Let's feel.
Under the moon, thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. 'Cause the negativity surrounds, and I know someday it will all turn around. 'Cause all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war. But the children will say one day, one day, one day, oh, one day, one day, one day. One day this all will change. Treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like why-oh, 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 why-oh. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and the children will play one day, 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 one day.
We turn to Kaddish on page 116, Mourner's Kaddish. I want to invite the mourners to rise as they are able to, and anyone who would like to support the mourners, you can also rise at this time. Is there anyone who would like to say the name of the person they are mourning for? No? Sydney Sobel, Karen Sobel's father, whose funeral was today. Rich. My mother, Vivian Esses. Vikadal vikadash me rabah.
Amen.
V'alma devra kirute v'amlich malchute v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol be'Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv v'emru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabba mevarach v'olam v'yomei alaya v'parach v'yishtabach v'pa'ar v'tromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kusha b'rechu le'ela min kol berchata v'shiba tush b'chata v'nechamata damiram b'yoma v'emru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'emru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mamav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'emru amen. Few announcements and some thank yous. Thank you to our social action volunteers on Juneteenth, World Refugee Day weekend. A group of Romemu social action volunteers formed an apartment setup team to resettle 2 immigrant families into apartments in the Bronx in partnership with Roots Refuge. The mission was a success. Thank you for supporting these ongoing efforts by contributing to the Rabbi Rivera Social Action Fund and/or sponsoring a social justice education program. Also coming up, Becoming Soulful Parents, Inspiration for Summer and How to Stay Grounded, self-guided video series online. The first 30 registrants get a free copy of Dasi Berkowitz's book, Becoming a Soulful Parent. And Mazel Tov to our community members, Matt and Mandy Gabrina, on the birth of their son, Noah Daniel. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. And of course, comfort to the mourners, Robin Aronson, who lost her mother. Karen Sobel, who lost her father, and Romemu member Rachel Wells, whose memorial was today. Okay, so now some big thank yous to Lisa Sokolov and Noah Solomon and Nate Harrington on AV back there. Grace Hack, our Zoom moderator, somewhere over there. Our amazing facilities team, Victor, Freddie, Erica, and Blanca. And I don't know if they're here. No, I don't see them. And Rabbi Janice Elster, who was our staff member here with us. And she was sitting at the door before, but I don't know where she is right now. But much appreciation and gratitude to all. Okay, I think we are ready for Kiddush. Page 88. Wise as you are able.
כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו
אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות.
פרי חבריי אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו שבת קודשו יאהב ורצון הזכירנו זיכרון
למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה וכלי קודש תחל יציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת כל העמים שבת קודשך יאהב ורצון.
Adonai Mekadesh Hashem.
Amen. B'da 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 she'olam hazeh eino ela geshet tzad me'od. B'da 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 she'olam hazeh eino ela geshet tzad me'od. It goes like this. Please know and understand, take it to your heart, that this world is merely a thin and narrow bridge. Here we go. Please take it to your heart, know and understand, that this world is merely a thin and narrow bridge. Need never be afraid, need never be afraid, need never be afraid, need never be afraid. B'da b'da she'olam hazeh eino ela geshet tzad me'od. B'da b'da she'olam hazeh eino ela geshet tzad me'od. Try with me, just try with me, just try. Please know and understand. Here we go. Please know and understand. Take it to your heart. Please know and understand. Take it to your heart that this world is merely a thin and narrow bridge. That this world is merely a thin and narrow bridge. Please know and understand. Take it to your heart that this world is merely a thin and narrow bridge. Need never be afraid. Need never be afraid. Need never be afraid. Need never be afraid. B'da she'olam hazeh eino ela geshet tzad me'od. B'da she'olam hazeh eino ela geshet tzad me'od. Please know and understand, take it to your heart that this world is merely a thin and narrow bridge. Please take it to your heart, know and understand that this world is
afraid. You need never to be afraid. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Indeed. Join us tomorrow.